Well, this election seems to have sparked excitement among at least one group, expats. More Canadians living abroad than ever before have registered to vote in this federal election. In January, the Supreme Court of Canada struck down a law that placed a 5-year limit on voting for those residing outside the country. So joining me now to talk about this is Asha Thakar. She has been living abroad for 15 years and is voting this year for the first time since 2004. She's currently visiting family in Vancouver, and that's where she joins me from now. Hi to you, Asha.
Hi, Aarti.
And so you are currently living in India. When you heard that you were able to actually vote this year, what was your reaction?
I was excited. It's being able to vote is something that I really coveted when I was younger, and especially turning 18 and being able to vote. So I was extremely excited and grateful, like really grateful to the folks that took this to the Supreme Court in order to get the law changed so that we can vote, so that all Canadians can vote, regardless of where they live.
And you were mentioning to me that it's not just you, and of course we were looking at the numbers according to Elections Canada. As of September 13th, almost 20,000 Canadians living abroad had registered to vote. And you were saying that you've got really a community of expats where you are, just in the city where you are, who are also doing the same thing. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I live in Mumbai, India, and we have a really vibrant, active group of Canadians. We get together for Thanksgiving and hockey games and other things, but we keep each other abreast of what's going on election-wise. And this was the first group of people that our WhatsApp group got extremely excited. One, when the law changed, and two, when registration opened, which I think we were able to register starting in April or May. So most of us who were active started our registration then.
And you've already received your ballot.
Yes. So for those of us who registered before the election was called, the day the election was called, we got notified by the government, and I received my ballot within a week. So I've had it with me for quite some time.
What has it been like to sort of be left out of the process, so to speak? Because you are a Canadian citizen, even though you're living outside in Mumbai. So how has it felt? You said it was such a coveted gift, really, when you were a Canadian, to be able to, as soon as you turned 18, to be able to vote.
Yeah, I think, living outside of Canada doesn't change how Canadian you are. And most of us, me included, I have family here, my parents are here, my sibling is here with their family, and so I'm still extremely connected to the country, whether it be visiting regularly or just being in touch with what's going on. We're also extremely proud of kind of the reputation Canada has abroad, and so feeling left out of that it was disappointing every time an election came. We could just sit on the sidelines and watch. And then as an expat, I can't participate in the political process in the country I live in. And so that meant I was out of any political process. I haven't voted in any elections anywhere for over 15 years. And that makes you feel like you're not a citizen of any country. So it's a really exciting thing and a proud moment to have our rights upheld so that this time I can participate and vote for a candidate in the country that I love.
Now, it's interesting because you talk about the fact that, yes, you weren't able to really participate in the political process in the other countries that you've lived in because you're not a citizen. And so many people who might live in Canada now, but if they're not citizens, they might not be able to vote, correct? So there are some criticisms that should expats who don't actually live in this country be able to weigh in and cast a ballot when a lot of these policies may not directly affect you. So what's your reaction to that sort of criticism?
I think it's an interesting debate to have, but that said, the right to vote is a right that's guaranteed in our Constitution. This isn't a whim, or when the country was formed, it was something that was decided as part of being a Canadian. I also think that one thing to remember is, as a Canadian living abroad, whether it be the intent to move back later or maybe later in life, retire here, many expats have property, investments in Canada. In general, most expats who are voting in the election, and I think about 10 to 15% of the total expat population has registered to vote, they're people who have ties to the country. And so I think it's important to hold, we have a number of freedoms that are guaranteed in our Constitution, and that supersedes kind of the overarching debate of should, a small group of foreigners be able to vote in an election, or foreign residing Canadians be allowed to vote. I think that fundamental freedom that we have is more important.
Now, from what I understand, Asha, you are still undecided in this upcoming election on who you're going to cast your ballot for. So what are the key issues for you right now that you are considering as someone who doesn't permanently live here anymore?
So for me, I really am thinking of twofold. Of course, I want to ensure that the riding where my family lives has the best representation as possible. But for me, I'm really looking for the issues that affect the way Canada exists in the global, in the world. So climate change, of course, I want to see Canada continue to be a leader in that space. Immigration, and the way that people can, how people can come into the country and the rules around that. And of course, I want to see the social framework of Canada remain how I remember it. So incredibly interested in what the parties are doing around healthcare, social services, and other areas. Because I think abroad, we benefit from the reputation of Canada. As a Canadian living abroad, I get the halo of Canada, and so I'd like to see that continue. And planning on voting for a candidate that helps ensure that happens.
Well, Asha, thank you for your unique perspective tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Aarti.